Hi, Mats&Axel here. We're in lovely Gothenburg today.
It's the second largest city of Sweden and also known as Little London.
Today we're doing a new vlog episode, so hang along with us. Come on! So Mats, who are we meeting today?
Today we're meeting with Josephine Darlington, who is product manager at Closer, who works with sustainable deliveries. And we're going to talk about sustainable e-commerce deliveries in particular.
Lovely to have you here. Welcome to Lindholmen Science Park. I work for an organization called Closer, and we work towards a more transport efficient society. And basically what I do is that I run together with my colleague Daniel something called Aster, which stands for an Alliance for Sustainable E-commerce. Så jag pluggar här också faktiskt.
Du är på Chalmers?
Ja, precis. Jag är på Chalmers. 3 år här.
So we can speak English.
Ja.
Ja, just det. Vi ska det är nu vi filmar.
You went to Chalmers? Okay, Josephine, if you want to describe Aster to someone who never heard of it, how would you do that?
Well, I would say that we work as a catalyst to create a sustainable e-commerce sector. And basically how we do that is that we work with creating collaborative innovation projects. We work with running them as well when it's needed. And basically just help the e-commerce sector to understand that you can work together to develop new solutions for a more sustainable tomorrow.
And are you tied to the university here, or where does the money come from?
Good question. Basically, we're a non-profit organization, and we are funded by Vinnova. So it's the Swedish Innovation Agency who funds us.
And do you have if you have one mission, this is the one thing that I would like to contribute to?
In Sweden, we have such a big potential in basically being first in the world to be a sustainable e-commerce nation. But it's so closely interlinked with the social aspects and the economical aspects. To get sustainability to happen, you need all of those three.
And you mentioned that Sweden might be a bit ahead, and your accent sort of reveals that you have spent time in the UK. Do you have noticed any difference between Sweden and the UK in this aspect?
And I would say generally what we experience is the trend has been the coolest, fastest, high-tech has been more focused, or very consumer-driven, that you really want to make sure that you have fast and on-time deliveries. And there I would say Sweden differs quite a bit, because I would say we have both e-commerce actors but also distributors working in Sweden who have understood the potential in running sustainability, and that could be really positive for their business also economically. So I would say generally that distributors and e-commerce actors are trying to move towards more sustainable deliveries, but they all see a challenge in understanding what does sustainable mean, what do all of the other expressions mean, like climate friendly or climate compensated, or many of the other expressions you have out there.
We sometimes also see in polls we've done that the end consumer wants the sustainable delivery but isn't that keen on paying extra for it. What do you think about that?
Well, I would say generally that a lot of distributors and merchants are actually going ahead of their consumers, and trying new things that maybe don't actually end up in making the consumer pay for the service. It's more a given that everyone should be able to purchase something online sustainably. A lot of customers want their delivery to be sustainable, but they don't really know what they're buying either, because all of these expressions flying around, and it's hard for a customer to try and read up on what is it I'm buying and what is it I'm paying more for. In our discussions with distributors or with carriers, I would say there's a really good will in wanting to move forward, but as there's not common definitions of these different ways of expressing sustainability, sometimes it's experienced as greenwashing because the consumer has a certain expectation.
Yeah.
So what we're really working for is to create a baseline for that communication and start defining what these different types of sustainability words actually mean. The point is this, that, I mean, we've been working with something that's basically called an industry standard in English, which is something else in Swedish.
Yeah.
But just to define the baseline.
Yeah.
So the baseline that everyone's walking and working towards is fossil free.
Yeah.
Which is a small step towards sustainable deliveries. We have a great project now running where cities finally are actually starting to understand how e-commerce deliveries are being performed. And previously they've been estimating these.
Do you know anything about, imposing sort of sanctions on deliveries, or?
Well, I would say a lot of things that are being discussed on a European level is like vehicle-free zones or like low emission zones, or they're discussing different types of sticks. Even though regulations are being put in place, I think there's a more open attitude from cities to work together to create those regulations. But often we also get the question, what type of carrots can we put in? The cities don't really know how to balance that in a good way. Well, I think there's been a really increased trend, I would say at least, especially from the younger generation who are very, I would say they've been affected of the transparency from the fashion industry, which has basically come up of how unsustainable fast fashion is.
Yeah.
The interest, for merchants has also increased. We see lots of different fast fashion companies opening their own secondhand.
Exactly.
I think making it more accessible and easier to secondhand is really, it's opened up a completely new market.
So, Josefin, nice to meet you, nice to talk to you.
Stay tuned to Mats&Axel for new adventures in e-commerce.
Perfect. Bye.
Bye.
Perfect.